All right, today we're going to talk about something a little different. It's the story of a renter named Aria, and it's all about an experience that really flips the script on what it means to live in a place you don't actually own. It's about that feeling of being seen as a person, not just managed like a number. So let's get right into it.
I mean, just read that. If you've ever been a long-term renter, this probably hits you right in the gut. It's a physical thing, right? A kind of constant, low-grade buzz of anxiety that you might not even notice anymore. And it's this feeling, this state of being perpetually half-ready, that is the absolute perfect starting point for Aria's story.
So, let's start with Act 1, a talent for shrinking. This is Aria's world. After years and years of renting, she'd gotten really good at making herself small. Not in her real life, of course. Out in the world, she was confident and capable. But when it came to her housing, well, that was a whole different story. It was a survival skill.
And these are the unwritten rules that taught her how to do it. Don't complain too much, don't ask for things, and for goodness sakes, do not get attached. Every single one of these is like a little piece of yourself you have to hide away just to avoid being seen as a problem. It's a strategy for becoming invisible, all in the hopes that you get to stay.
Okay, so you can picture it, right? This quiet, carefully built existence. And then, bam! It all gets shaken up. This is that moment every renter has a nightmare about. And it doesn't come with a loud noise. It comes with a little notification on a screen.
That's all it said. Just 4 words from the owner. So vague, so impersonal, but absolutely loaded with meaning. Anyone who rents knows this phrase. It's the polite code for get ready. It's the beginning of a process that, is usually anything but polite.
And her body knew exactly what to do. It reacted before her brain even could. That tightening in the chest is the muscle memory of years of this stuff. She was just bracing herself for the usual drill. The official notice, the impossible deadlines, and of course that cold, classic line, it's nothing personal.
But the usual drill never happened. The next email she got just completely broke the script. It wasn't from the owner, it wasn't from the property manager, it was from some third-party group called a home solutions company. And right here is where the story takes a sharp turn away from everything she thought was about to happen. And this brings us to the absolute core of this whole story. It stops being about legal notices and clauses in a lease. It's about changing the entire conversation. And it all hinges on one simple, powerful idea: respect. This is what they asked her. Just let that sink in for a second. It's so simple, but it completely changes the power dynamic, doesn't it? They're not asking what's easy for them or what the law says they have to do. They're asking about her experience. They're basically handing the microphone to Aria and saying, you tell us, what does respect look like in this situation?
And you can probably guess why this made Aria so wary at first. I mean, think about it. In these kinds of situations, moving, being displaced, the whole thing is almost always just a transaction. It's business. Respect isn't just uncommon, it's often seen as getting in the way of getting things done quickly.
And what they did next was so smart. They were totally upfront about what they couldn't do. They said, look, we can't promise you get to stay, but they made a promise about what they could control: communication. They promised it would be clear, consistent, and, this is key, with her consent. They were going to manage the process, not her.
So that's a nice promise, but what did it actually look like in practice? Well, this whole new approach helped Aria get through a time that is normally just filled with fear and chaos.
So after they talked, Aria got a written summary, and it had this really simple 3-part structure that changed absolutely everything for her. Uncertainty is a killer when it's just this big, dark, shapeless cloud. But by doing this, by clearly saying, here's what we know, here's what we don't know, and then here's when we'll have more information, they gave the uncertainty a shape. They made it manageable.
I mean, just look at the difference. The old way is all panic and pressure and just total chaos. This new way, it swaps all that out for planning and clear timelines and clarity. It's a huge shift from being in this reactive mode of pure fear to a proactive place where you actually know what's going on.
And that's the real result here. This whole process gave her her agency back. The decision to move ended up being her choice, and she made it not in some crazy rush, but with a real thought-out plan. She was part of the process, not just the victim of it.
Which brings us to our final act, the last, quiet scene of the story. After all the boxes are packed and the goodbyes are said, what's the real, lasting impact of being treated with this kind of dignity? And it all comes back to her body. Remember how her chest tightened at the beginning? Well, here, on her last night in her home, she feels something completely different, a kind of release.
And that word is so powerful. She wasn't numb. It wasn't that she just shut down her feelings to get through it. No, she was unbraced. For the first time in who knows how long, she could let go of that physical tension, that constant readiness for the other shoe to drop. Her body could finally relax.
And that's the big takeaway. This story wasn't really about a smooth move or good customer service. It was about what happens when you treat a human being with dignity in a moment when they are incredibly vulnerable. It shows us that stability, even when things are changing, isn't some extra perk. It's the very ground that our dignity stands on. It just makes you wonder, what would change if every transition we went through was built on that?